Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching Plain Speak. I'm Manish. The trouble for Aam Aadmi Party MP Sanjay Singh continues to mount. Sanjay Singh's close aide was grilled by the Enforcement Directorate today. You remember last evening, Singh was produced before the Rouse Avenue Court where he was sent to 5 days of ED custody. At the heart of this matter is an intense political battle as well. Of course, the liquor scam probe here in the national capital, the excise policy scam, concerns public money and must be thoroughly investigated. But the Aam Aadmi Party claims that this should be seen as an extension of the so-called policy of the BJP, which promotes vendetta against the opposition. How much of truth really does lie in these claims? If you take the case of Manish Sisodia, who has not been able to secure a bail so far, the BJP argues that the fact he is not able to get a bail is proof enough that there is prima facie evidence against him. The argument is also that Sanjay Singh will meet the same fate. On the other side is the argument that Sanjay Singh and his arrest was per se illegal and prima facie there are no grounds to take him into custody. The custodial interrogation of Sanjay Singh has been allowed. He is in Enforcement Directorate remand. But what exactly this case is about, let's try and separate the facts from the politics of it. CNN News 18 has accessed Sanjay Singh's remand note by the Enforcement Directorate. This particular note says that the key conspirator in liquor scam, one of the key person is Sanjay Singh. He is associated with Dinesh Arora since 2017. That association is well known. Whether there is criminality into it or not is something that the agency will have to establish. Allegedly, he also received proceeds of crime worth about 2 crore rupees. That money will have to be located. And 1 crore bribe was paid by Sameer Mahendru as well. It is also alleged that Mahendru paid the bribe at the behest of Vijay Nair. That's exactly how the trail or the nexus operated. It is further alleged by the Enforcement Directorate that 1 crore bribe from somebody called Abhishek Bonapalli was also received. There are call detail records that confirm these allegations. We are telling you the allegations made against Sanjay Singh so far, and all of them need to be proven in a court of law beyond reasonable doubt. 1 crore also picked up from Indo Spirits office in Oakland. The promoters of this company are also under radar. Let's now take a look at what Sanjay Singh's lawyer have argued. What do they say? They argue that this is a sudden arrest. It shows vendetta politics at play. It is also argued that there is no iota of truth in the charges against Sanjay Singh. In fact, Sanjay Singh made that emotive appeal before the court when he was presented. It is also argued that Dinesh Arora is under pressure to frame Sanjay Singh. That is what he told the court. No summons were issued by the agency before these raids and eventual arrest. ED is applying a different set of rules for Sanjay Singh. Also, one of the key arguments says that he was not named as an accused in any FIR or any charge sheet so far. So why so much hurry in arresting Sanjay Singh? This entire probe, how should this be really seen? Is it the law finally catching up or is it mere political vendetta? Our focus on Plain Speak tonight.
अन्याय है मोदी जी का, हारेंगे मोदी जी चुनाव हार गए।
विपक्ष के नेताओं को, पार्टियों को, विपक्षी लोगों को एक तरह से निष्क्रिय करने की कोशिश की जा रही है, डराने की कोशिश की जा रही है। कई लोगों को तोड़ के बीजेपी अपनी पार्टी में शामिल कर रही है। ये जनतंत्र के लिए अच्छा नहीं है।
मैं इस बात को पुनः रीएम्फसाइज करना चाहता हूं, सीबीआई इंक्वायरी शुरू होते ही पॉलिसी विड्रॉ कर ली। क्यों विड्रॉ किया अगर सब कुछ सही था? और विड्रॉ करने के बाद आप उसको डिफेंड भी कर रहे हैं और डिफेंड करते हुए आप उस दलदल में धंसते हुए चले जा रहे हैं।
Well, let me cut across to our guests who are joining us on the broadcast. Neeti Jain from the BJP is with us on the broadcast. Shubh Malhotra of the Aam Aadmi Party is also with us on the show. We'll also be joined in just a few minutes from now, Mr. Amitabh Sinha, who's a senior lawyer and advocate. Mr. Sumit Chandar, who's a lawyer and a political analyst, is also with us here in the studio. Neeti, first to you, the argument that have been put forward by the opposition parties not for the first time. This is political witch hunt and vendetta, and ED has not followed the due process of law.
So, Anusha, I honestly feel that this narrative suits the Aam Aadmi Party and the opposition per se. And this is why they are making it an Aam Aadmi Party versus a BJP fight. My basic point here is, there is a man who paid the bribe. He said, "Maine isko rishwat di." And that person has been acted against. Where does the BJP come in? So the problem is not that they have taken the bribe. The problem is, why are you catching us for that? And that is a question that they need to ask the ED. See, contrary to what the opposition may say, the BJP does not speak for the ED. If they have any problems about the procedural arrest or the procedure of the arrest or any of those matters, they should go to the court about that. Why ask the BJP about it? So it is very convenient for them to make it a BJP versus an Aam Aadmi Party fight. The only question that needs to be answered here is, why was that money? Why did that money change hands, and what remains at the base of it? Why did you withdraw that policy once the CBI started investigating it? And all of those matters, the MOU that has been found, even though it wasn't implemented because the policy was withdrawn, but the intention was still there. Had the policy not been withdrawn, had the CBI not investigated the entire matter, it would have taken place. So those are the questions that you need to answer. There is no point standing on the streets and calling names at the BJP. It is not about us. It is between you and the man who paid the bribe. Right. Fight it with him. If you have to prove you did not take the bribe from that person, BJP has nothing to do with it.
Neeti, you're absolutely right that if BJP is not the spokesperson for Enforcement Directorate. You rightly point that out. And yes, these are pertinent questions that need to be answered by the Aam Aadmi Party as to why, say, Mr. Manish Sisodia has not been able to secure a bail so far. But there is some merit to the argument when one argues that whether it's the CBI or the Enforcement Directorate, a particular degree of political sanction is required for these agencies to go ahead and take a call on whether any investigation needs to be conducted or not. That's the procedure that concerned government department officials decide that, look, this is one investigation which the CBI needs to look into. And then only ED comes into play once a predicate offence has been established. And that particular political discretion is being misused. That's the argument of the opposition, Neeti. A quick point from you on that, and then I'll bring in Shub.
So are you saying if there is evidence and if the government knows that a certain corruption has happened, they should not act on it just because it might be called a political vendetta later? Should anybody in the government or the administration allow for all of these corruption activities to go on just for the fear that it might be called political vendetta, whether it is or not? I am taking your word for it.
Sure.
But the point is, if anybody knows that a certain corruption has taken place, it is our duty to elicit that, to bring out that entire corruption matter. That is the job of the institutions.
The one may cry hoarse over the fact that, look, this is political vendetta. Didn't the opposition parties go to the Supreme Court and say, look, CBI and Enforcement Directorate are being misused, do something about it? And then eventually you had to withdraw that petition. The Supreme Court did nothing. If a crime has happened, if there is something that comes to the light of the agency, and just because it doesn't play out well in the political optics, does that mean agency is not going to act? Shub, can you hear me? That's the question for you from the Aam Aadmi Party.
Yeah, your voice is extremely muzzled, but I could make out some sections of what you were trying to say.
We'll try and
let me just respond by first of all saying that it is very, very clear political vendetta. See, because if you see the chain of events that have happened in this particular case and how Sanjay Singh, there has been an attempt to involve Sanjay Singh from the very beginning. In the first charge sheet, they named him, and then when Sanjay Singh went to the court for a defamation case against the ED, suddenly ED turned back on its track and said that it was a mistake to mention him. And then, it reflects so poorly on the main money laundering investigative agency that how exactly did they manage to do this? And then later on, the sequence of events were so poor. Like if you see, in the One Nation, One Election Committee, Harish Salve, who has been appointed by the Honorable Prime Minister himself, I think it was his third marriage or something, and Lalit Modi was seen socializing openly. So a person who has not been able to be found by ED, CBI and all these big investigative agencies someone like Harish Salvi is able to have
What
him
is your
around so
point,
easily. So
ma'am?
what does that tell us about the ED? Now, the third thing that I want to mention is that it is not just me, it is not just our lawyers, but it is the Supreme Court itself that yesterday and day before yesterday very clearly told ED that you have, although you keep on quoting amounts and numbers and different people, but there is no evidence of exchange of any amounts between these people. There is no trail of money that's been established, and definitely not against Manish Sisodia. And I'm sure the same will be the case for Sanjay Singh also. Now, in this particular case of Sanjay Singh, let me also tell you that it is just a question of the last 3 days in which just because of the one line, and it is very unfortunate that because of the 2019 amendment into the PMLA that had been brought about by BJP itself, and which is also another tool of political vendetta that they are utilizing it as, that is how, just by virtue of that one line, Sanjay Singh was arrested, which mentions some donation and some 32 lakhs. And that's it. And there is no other evidence against him. And the thing being that now this empowered PMLA enables them to arrest him, but this is not going to hold true. The accusations of the various, money and all that they are mentioning, it is not going to hold true in the court. The misfortune is that just like Manish Sisodia, in our country, the trial first goes into the lower courts, then it goes to the High Court, then it goes to the Supreme Court. So, it is a process. And it is going to be a while before, I'm sure Manish Sisodia is going to be out very soon. And we will see, it may in a little while, Sanjay Singh also coming out.
Let's see if that happens or not. See, I believe you and Neeti both have spoken. You and Neeti both have spoken. You largely have spoken about the evidence which is there on record. And whatever you said about the Supreme Court, yes, but those are oral observations that have come in. There is no final order that has come from the Supreme Court. We'll wait for that final order to take a call on whether the Supreme Court takes the view what it has hinted in the oral observations, because they're only preliminary in nature, in the sense the court is merely hearing something. Mr. Sumit Chandra, coming to you. The evidence on record, prima facie, it's a voluminous charge sheet, multiple charge sheets that have been filed, and it's the job of the court to come to a conclusion when it comes to the charge sheet. But prima facie, an informed opinion about what exists on record.
See, what exists on record is that there are, at least so far as Mr. Sanjay Singh is concerned, is that some witnesses in the case have taken his name, now his name has come in the supplementary charge sheet. The question now before the court is that whether investigation prima facie case is made out or not, and if it is so, let the investigation proceed. The present stage is where the court has only granted time to the police to investigate. It is only after investigation that you will come across whether any evidence is found, not found, but that is a stage which will come after the investigation. At this stage, to say whether there is sufficient evidence, that is why he is being kept into custody, is not a right thing to say in law. In law, it is at this stage only to be seen whether the police should be given time to take him into remand and do the investigation.
Let's see, what is the conclusion that the Supreme Court comes up with as far as Manish Sisodia is concerned? That's also going to be an important case to watch out for. Mr. Amitabh Sinha, the fact that Sanjay Singh so far has not been named as an accused in any of the complaint, in any of the FIR, in any of the charge sheets so far, it is factually correct to say that multiple witnesses and approvers in the case have taken his name and have hinted towards his involvement. 3 points I want you to elaborate upon. The fact that earlier no summons were issued to him, and the argument that there is no predicate offence in terms of there's no complaint or he's not named as an accused in the charge sheet. And third, the manner in which the arrest has happened. Is there any illegality to it? Mr. Sinha.
First of all, I must try to, give some information, some light on 2022 July Justice Khanwilkar's case, the decision, the judgment, in which he has very clearly said that no matter what the criminality is, if the criminality, the quantum of the criminality will not be discussed, if the criminality is there in PMLA, it should be taken as a crime, and the crime nature will be similar to what exactly other accused are being considered. So that is a very important thing. And it is, in the judgment of Justice Khanwilkar's case in 2022. Now, in this case, if the approver has given some evidence, and after the evidence, if the ED has found some, link, some trail, and then the ED is thinking that the custody is very much important. You see, ED is not the ultimate authority. ED takes the accused to the court and asks for the remand. So, if the court has examined or not, that is important. Court must have examined and then given the 5 days remand. So, illegality, if we will say that illegality is there, then illegality we are pointing out at the court also.
Sure.
So, I am sorry, the illegality is not there. If the illegality is there, then the court is there to decide, and then the court will just dismiss the plea of the ED, and then they will refuse any remand. But if remand is there, it means the requirement is there. Requirement of direct investigation is there. The cross, questioning is very much required in such type of matter.
I agree with you that, ED can only present the case before the court, and the final call is always taken by the learned magistrate or the judge who's sitting there deciding whether the custody needs to be given or not. But we also can't ignore the fact, and there are judgments of Supreme Court on this, that while in this country the maxim has been that bail is the rule and jail is an exception, the lower courts in this country have been very reluctant and rather hesitant to grant bails. The court, Supreme Court, on various occasions has had to remind the lower courts that, look, this is the norm and please go ahead and follow it. Especially in high-profile cases, there's rather a defensive approach that the lower courts tend to take. And that's a phenomenon I'm not saying is applicable in this case, but something that has been observed in our judgments and jurisprudence.
Very interesting point. In November 2017, the Supreme Court itself has upheld that in PMLA case, see, this doctrine is not applicable. So, in previous to 2017, in PMLA cases, the bail was not a common thing, and if the entire proceeding is continuing, then the bail was next to impossible. But in 2017, Supreme Court has upheld that bail is after the proper investigation, charge sheet is there, then the bail can be examined and it can be granted. So, it is not like that in other crimes, because PMLA has a separate and different criminality, and the magnitude of the crime is much larger than normal crime.
I get that.
This is the very important thing.
I get that ambit, and I get the wide powers that have been, given under PMLA, as you rightly point out. I want to go back to Neeti and Shubh Malhotra once again. Neeti, the process has become a punishment here. And, the opposition parties continue to say that, look at the timing of it. Close to elections, you have the Enforcement Directorate going after multiple opposition leaders. And I also saw these memes that were floated by the opposition parties on social media and networking sites, where they said an oft-repeated charge that BJP is some kind of a washing machine. There is nobody who's done wrong in BJP, and it's only the opposition parties which are at fault. It's a proof that you're misusing the agencies.
So, Anusha, like I said, it is very convenient for the opposition party, and we have said this is an alliance of corruption to save the corrupt. The dynasts are saving their own corruptions, and if the agencies are taking action against that, that is the job of the agencies to do it. They are going to act on whatever evidence they have, and the point is that if they are not getting a bail from the court, there is some evidence, there is some fact to whatever the organizations are doing, and that remains the bottom line. If they have a problem with any of the BJP leaders, if they have something, go to the court. There is an entire system that this country operates on. Don't just sit on channels and make memes about how everything is wrong with this country. Don't go abroad and say, Hamara democracy bhi barbaad hai, Hamara desh bhi barbaad hai. Don't do that. The point is, there is a surviving system in this country. Use that. If you have evidence against anybody, take it to the court. There is nothing that the BJP can do about it. But if the agencies are doing their job, nobody is saying हमने नहीं किया. वो बोल रहे हैं हमको पकड़ क्यों रहे हो? क्योंकि agencies का काम है.
ये बात सीधे आम आदमी पार्टी से पूछ लेते हैं. Shubh, the grouses you're caught and the agencies are doing their job. You're not saying that we've not done this, but you're targeting us and you've caught us in the wrong act. Is that your argument?
See, I would just like to say that yes, it is often said that truth is inconvenient, but at this time, the evidences that we see in front of us, the trend that we have seen, the truth is actually very convenient. See, between 2004 and 2014, and this is a report that has been tabled in the parliament, that the investigations of political leaders by ED, only around 50 or 60% were from the opposition. But as on date, from 2014 onwards, the number has risen to 95% of the leaders being from opposition. So, you know, data doesn't lie. There's, yeah, all of this, this whole series of, this whole series of political vendetta started, you know, as when we go back to the time when the discussion about the inception of the India Alliance started. So we saw that in July, Samajwadi Party was raided. Then again, Shiv Sena also, the people from Shiv Sena were raided. Then P. Chidambaram was raided. Then there were raids related, in August, there were raids related to the Gandhis. Then again in August, Sharad Pawar was raided. Then September, Mamata Banerjee was raided. Hemant Soren was raided. But at the same time, you know, what happened in Maharashtra was round about the same time that in relation to a 70,000 crore scam. And Mr. Fadnavis stood in a public rally and said, Pawar, chakki piecing. And 4 days later, he was forming the government with Mr. Ajit Pawar. What about Narayan Rane?
I will ask those questions to the BJP.
So, you know, this is all the case. This is all the case of BJP's washing powder, and I'll tell you, since there is no evidence in this case, I'll tell you, in the court of law, when does the ED or CBI seek someone to become an approver?
You know,
it only happens when there are...
In all probability, we cannot reach to the conclusion whether there is evidence or not. I think the courts will do it. We can only have an informed discussion, and that's what we're trying to do. I want to quickly bring in Mr. Sumit Chandar, then I'll go back to Neeti for a quick response. Mr. Chandar, process is the punishment. The fact that somebody is not able to secure bail, is that proof enough of prima facie degree of criminality?
Anusha, this is one thing that I've been noticing here, is that somewhere the law is being misconceived whereas the bail is concerned. Now let us understand when a bail should not be granted or should be granted for that matter. There are three parameters that the courts look into while granting a bail.
Yeah.
One, that the accused is not a flight risk. Very important. That it is not under the apprehension that the accused might run away. Second is that he won't influence the witnesses in any manner. Again, a very important aspect the courts need to consider. And third is that he won't tamper with the evidence. These are the three parameters under which the courts decide whether to give or not give the bail. Now, those aspects are for the courts to consider. I am sure the courts would have considered these aspects while choosing to hand over the remand at this stage. But rest will come under investigation. What are to be seen, what evidence will be coming up. At this stage, to say that we have seen the evidence is too early, because at this stage the police is now only collecting the evidence, which will be presented in the supplementary charge sheet again once the investigation has taken place.
But the fact that somebody is not able to get a bail is not a proof of their culpability, or it's not a proof of their criminality or their involvement.
Very right. There are stages, there are cases where even after bail was not given at the initial stage, maybe at a later stage they may get a bail. There is no stopping that if they, in the first instance they don't get a bail, they cannot apply again. But once the investigation is done, where the court say, okay, now is a stage where we can grant them the bail, then at that stage, after there will be an argument on charge, and there if it is proved, that is where the evidence begins. Evidence is brought before the court.
True.
So that is the stage where these comments can come in, whether a case is made out against the accused or not. Not at the stage of bail.
All right, I have last few minutes on the show, and I want to bring in Neeti into the discussion. Neeti, the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson talked about the fact that how there were leaders in opposition. She was talking about Ajit Pawar, and there was a statement that was made by Devendra Fadnavis. And there are various other examples from the TMC and other leaders who were allegedly involved in certain corruption scandals. They were being investigated. But when they shifted to the other side, when they joined the BJP, suddenly there was no investigation, and suddenly they were holier than thou.
The investigations are going on. I think nowhere the investigations have been shut down, and that remains the point. The only point I want to make, and Madam made a huge self-goal, is that you say that the ED wasn't making enough arrests on the opposition. मैम आधी बार तो आप लोग अलायंस में सरकार चला रहे होते थे और दूसरों पर इसलिए नहीं करते थे कि कल किसकी जरूरत पड़ जाए. So there was always that quid pro quo that was going on before 2014, and all the names that you just took that the ED is investigating right now, I think that proves our point that this alliance is of the corrupt. You may choose to say this is political vendetta, but I choose to believe in the integrity of our organizations and agencies that they are acting on sufficient evidence. So all the names that you've taken only goes to prove that this the India alliance is of the corrupt, and that is why the agencies are acting on that.
All right, 30 seconds to you, Shubh, and then I want to bring in Mr. Sinha also very briefly. 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, I just want to clarify that, you know, it's been the history with this particular government that whenever ED or CBI happens to involve any political person in the case, the spokespersons just go on TV and they declare the accused to be guilty. But I would just want to say that the courts have their own particular process.
The agencies do their work.
Do not say that there is credible evidence, and do not say that, you know, you cannot say that. The details of the Supreme Court hearing.
Well, like you can say that there is no credible evidence, they can say that there is credible evidence. I think people are free to have their views, and we are open to that particular. That's an oral observation. That's an oral observation, and I will buy your argument when the court says that in an order, in a final order that comes out. Mr. Sinha, closing comments from you.
Yeah. See, my friend Mr. Sumit has very rightly described that bail is very conditional, and in 3 stages the bail can be granted or it can be denied. So first, the flight factor is not important, because they are here to do the politics. Second, influencing the witnesses, and third, just to like destroying the evidence. So all these 3, if the court understands that these 3 factors are not now important, and they cannot destroy the evidence, and they cannot threaten the witnesses also, then they can grant bail. But despite getting bail also, they are not innocent, because MP MLA court is here to decide in a fast track manner.
And sir, you rightly say the grant or denial of bail is only an interim relief. Legally, it's not a pronouncement on somebody's guilt or innocence. That's all the time I have, but thank you to all our panelists for joining us here on Plain Speak tonight. With that, it's a wrap on the show. Thank you so much for watching.